the reveal of our 2025 Fantasy Football Draft Guide.
Absolutely. This is our first delve into our draft guide, our steals, some sleepers, and some players to avoid and not draft.
Absolutely. We gave one of these out last year. We had a pretty good track record with that, so we're hoping to keep the trend going this year and hopefully help some of y'all win your fantasy football leagues.
Absolutely. A lot of players, or a lot of steals you could have got late in the draft that could have won you your leagues, and a lot of players that we mentioned to stay away from that had harder seasons.
100%. Okay, so I figure if that's okay with you, we can do this position by position, just to kind of keep things organized. I don't know if you have your notes organized.
I'm not as organized, but I do have position organized.
Okay, so we can start and go position by position. I have 10 on each side, or 10 of each sleepers and avoids on my list. I know you have a bunch as well that you want to talk about. So just a big mass majority here. We're going to dig into things. So we'll start with our full list of avoids for you guys, and we'll start at the quarterback position. You want to kick things off, or do you want me to kick things off?
I can kick things off. I think I only have, one quarterback, though, in my avoids.
Okay, I have 2.
Okay, I'm going with a big name, obviously. Mr. Patrick Mahomes. He's being taken, I believe, as quarterback 2 in most leagues. Josh Allen, still the quarterback 1, obviously MVP season.
Yes.
Patrick Mahomes, the last 2 seasons, has been under 19 points per game. Obviously, if you look at his surrounding cast, not the greatest people around him,
Right.
not the greatest offense. You look at all these other quarterbacks, better situations. Brock Purdy, in the last 2 seasons, had more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes, going later in the draft. Baker Mayfield and Jared Goff last year had more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes, going later in the draft. I just feel like value-wise, obviously you could sit and wait on a player that could be taken in the 2nd or 3rd rounds.
Right.
For more position value elsewhere, obviously, in the last 2 seasons. More struggles for Patrick Mahomes. But I don't think they've done enough in the offense to solidify taking a 2nd or 3rd round pick on Patrick Mahomes.
No, I understand.
A player that I have done multiple times, by the way. He's been my fantasy quarterback the last 3 or 4 years. And obviously, if you go back 3 or 4 years, those are his winning seasons. But the last 2 have dropped off, and I believe it will stay about that range.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Patrick Mahomes is a guy that doesn't do so much with his legs as he did earlier in his career, and just, I 100% agree with you there. There's definitely a lot better value later in the drafts. Okay, I can go with my first avoid. I'm going to go with a guy that might be a little obvious to some, not so much to others. I'm going to go with Mr. Anthony Richardson. He's currently projected the 8th best projection for quarterbacks in week 1. I think this is a guy that you have to avoid. He's a guy that struggled a lot last year. I know we're supposed to be Colts supporters over here. But if we're being very realistic, this is a guy that hasn't shown us anything yet.
Yeah, when it comes to fantasy football, this is where realism hits. All favoritism and bias is thrown out the window, and you have to come with facts.
Right, without a doubt. This is a guy that we've seen get benched last year. Joe Flacco, a 40-year-old quarterback, was losing reps, even came back healthy and was still losing reps to the guys behind him. His decision-making is very rough. He doesn't know when to run, when not to run. I don't think he knows it. The power of his throws. He launches the ball so far down the field.
The youngest quarterback in the NFL. I mean, a player that we've seen take himself out of the game.
Yeah.
And get scrutinized for. So it's something hopefully he learned from. But obviously the other side of things, he's been training with Josh Allen's coach. There's potential there. But they also have a plan B and a plan C in Indianapolis. They got Daniel Jones. They're fully ready to move on from AR if he doesn't prove himself. So another reason to just not draft a player that could not play.
Right.
Or play 4 games.
Without a doubt.
We're trying to get to the playoffs.
Right. He's on a very short leash over there in Indy. I guess I'm going to give out my other quarterback really quick just so we can move on to running back since I know you said you only had 1. My other quarterback to avoid starting-wise is Mr. Russell Wilson. I think he's ranked a little bit higher on some of these draft boards than I would like to see. He's a guy that is another guy that could have his job in jeopardy later in the season if he doesn't come out and perform. Obviously, the Giants took a first-round pick on Mr. Jackson Dart, who's been very impressive in the offseason so far in the OTAs, training camps and things of that nature. Is really good. And Russell Wilson's a guy who's on the back end of his career. He's a guy that's not going to produce like he used to, and if he comes out and shows any sort of lack of play, they're going to ride the Jackson Dart. So just stay away from those two guys. Those are my two biggest quarterback avoids.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of speculation about how the best thing for Jackson Dart would be to sit and learn. And for Jackson Dart, that absolutely would be the best case scenario, best thing for him. Brian Dable and Joe Schoen have their jobs on the line. Yeah. They made these draft picks with that in mind. 100%. This offseason with that in mind. Russell Wilson could very well much be a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
And if that Band-Aid doesn't cover that wound enough,
it's getting replaced.
Exactly.
100% agree. All right, we can move to running backs. So we can go to you. Okay, so my number one running back to avoid, and it pains me. It's going to hurt to say this, but I'm going Alvin Kamara. And I know you're going to say, why? He's going to be the focal point of the offense. He gets so many receptions. PPR numbers are crazy. I understand that. But the Saints offense is in a very, very, very weird spot. Tyler Shuck is predicted to be the quarterback right now. I don't know how much I believe that. I believe in myself should be Spencer Rattler. It's not what we're talking about right now. But I think Kamara is in a very weird position. We've seen a lot of faith in Kendre Miller last year as a backup for New Orleans, and Kamara coming into, 31, 32, somewhere around there, getting a little older. Might not have the juice he used to, and I think just with the worries for the Saints offense, this is a guy that at least shouldn't be drafted as high as he's getting drafted.
Yeah, especially like strength of schedule wise, this could be scenarios that the Saints are forced to pass the ball, even if their offense is out there multiple times because defense is getting tortured this season. But Alvin Kamara is a player that's still the 15th running back off the board above players like Kenneth Walker, Amarian Hampton, R.J. Harvey, James Conner, who's a staple of the Arizona offense, Travion Henderson, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, Quinshon Judkins, Tony Pollard, Isaiah Pacheco, Tyrone Tracy. Just a lot more value.
100%. A lot more receivers than I do.
Yeah, I can go ahead and throw mine in.
Okay.
The player that's being taken a little earlier on, actually, the 9th running back, 20th off the board, Mr. Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis. Obviously, you just mentioned the whole QB controversy. We don't know who's throwing the ball. We don't know how often they're going to hand off the ball.
Right.
Let's talk about how Jonathan Taylor could have very much won you your playoffs, but could have made it harder to get into the playoffs.
Right.
If you didn't have a much more focused core around him. 13.8 points per game last season in fantasy from week 1 to week 15. He missed 3 weeks of the first 10 weeks. 38% of his total fantasy points came on the final 3 weeks.
Wow.
He had 39.8 points, 27.6 points, and 25 points. But these were also to the teams who allowed the 10th most points to running backs in fantasy of the Titans, the 4th most of the Giants, and the 2nd most of the Jaguars. He had 18.9 rushing attempts for his first 15 weeks, 32 rushing attempts the final 2 weeks. Obviously, the PPR value isn't there, whether it's Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson, or at this point, Joe Flacco comes back. He's had less targets per game than Miles Sanders, Amir Abdullah, Michael Carter, Zach Charbonnet, Alexander Madison, Justice Hill, Najee Harris, and David Montgomery, just to name a few. So not much value in PPR as well, 100%. Regardless of who's throwing the ball.
Right. I love that. I 100% agree because he's currently going as the 6th running back.
Yeah.
So I love that one, absolutely. Okay. I have 3 more. I have one that doesn't need as much explanation, but I have 2 that I guess could use a little bit of explanation. I'm going to go with my next one. He's the next, or I guess he's not. We'll go with the next highest ranked running back coming off the board for me. That's at number 13, and that's Breece Hall. I was very low on Breece Hall last year, and he's panned out the way I predicted he was going. Is like the number 3, number 2 pick last year, the entire draft, which was crazy to me.
Obviously, a lot of hype with Aaron Rodgers over there.
Right. Obviously, that ranking very much lower than last year, but still, I think he's a guy that should go even lower. We've seen Braylon Allen take a lot of carries from him last year. We've even seen guys like Isaiah Davis, Ty Montgomery, the other receiving back they have there, get time over Breece Hall later in the season. And I think that trend's going to continue this year. Braylon Allen was a very young 19, 20-year-old that's going to get much better. I think his role will be even bigger this year, especially with the run-heavy offense that it's going to be with Justin Fields. And I think Breece Hall loses a lot of his time, and I'm just not big on his ability anyways. I don't think he should be going as the 13th ranked running back above guys like Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker, Chuba Hubbard, even, Omarion Hampton, guys we mentioned earlier. Just kind of crazy to me that he's still going as almost a top 10 right now.
Absolutely. I have no idea what that offense is going to look like yet. Even in a situation where he could have got a lot of red zone touches and a lot of pass looks with Aaron Rodgers, not a very good season.
At all. The next two guys I don't have to spend as much time on, just quick mentions. I'm going to go with, this one pains me a little bit because I was kind of big on him coming into the season before recent changes. I'm going Joe Mixon on the avoid list. It really hurts. I don't want to put him there because he was very good as a fantasy running back last year. But with the addition of Nick Chubb, changes a lot of things.
Absolutely. Split backfield.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for fantasy.
Right. He won't be the bell cow back now. He'll get some rest to Nick Chubb and might lose some red zone carries to Mr. Nick Chubb. So just a lot of risk there with the new backfield. Guy to stay away from. And another guy to stay away from. He's not going very high in drafts, so I don't have to talk about it a lot, but just don't draft him at all. And that guy is Ramondre Stevenson. I'm going to get into why you shouldn't a little bit later on another list of mine. But just he's going to lose his job by midway through the season. That's all I'm going to say for now.
Cinder block feet looks like he was going to lose his job last season. And he did at one point. He did at one point.
Yeah, 100%. So just don't draft Ramondre. I don't think he'll even be valuable at all. I think he's going to be the Zamir White of last year.
This is still a player being taken above players like Jordan Mason, Hank Bigley, Rashad White,
Travis Etienne,
Isaac Garendo, Austin Eckler, J.K. Dobbins, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen. Players that could still honestly get more reps in their split backfield situations than Ramondre, who may not be on roster come week 18.
100%. I wholeheartedly agree. All right, so that's my 4 avoid running backs. We can move things over to receiver, and I'll let you take over, so I'm not just stealing all the time.
1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers.
Okay, I have 3.
Finish out my list.
Yeah.
All right. Check things out real quick, ranking-wise. All right. I'm going to start with the highest ranked wide receiver, I think, on my list as of right now. That's Garrett Wilson coming off the board as the 16th wide receiver, 34 overall. They had a 64% pass rate last season with Aaron Rodgers. They went 5-12, by the way. Still his quarterback. But he still has never had a season above 20 points per game. Like you mentioned, this new run-heavy offense, which could involve a split backfield to hurt Breece Hall. But this new run-heavy offense with Justin Fields could also hurt Garrett Wilson. You're not going to have a 64% pass rate with Justin Fields. If you do, they're not all going to be beautiful passes. But this Garrett Wilson is being taken over players like Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, Xavier Worthy, DK Metcalf. There's a lot of big names on this list that had big seasons, but a player being taken 16th off the board at wide receiver is crazy to me, who's still not had a 20 point per game campaign.
I like it. I love it. Okay, I guess we'll slide over to me for my first avoid. I kind of mentioned it to you earlier, and obviously it keeps it. I guess it doesn't hurt me, but might hurt you a little bit. My number one avoid is DK Metcalf. Now you're going to wonder why they traded away George Pickens. He's the only target. But that's what hurts him. We talked about it before the show. This is a guy that's going to get all the attention now. We've seen Aaron Rodgers, like you said, have a 64% pass rate last season and still didn't get his number one target the ball ever. Obviously he had Devontae Adams for parts of the year, but even without Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson wasn't doing much of anything.
I want to mention Devontae Adams is a bigger name to take some heat off Garrett Wilson, which was the big reason he was taken so high last season.
Right.
There's nobody to take the heat off DK Metcalf. No. I wholeheartedly agree with you, even as a Steelers fan, because we're repeating last year to the T. Outside of our quarterback situation possibly getting worse, we're repeating the exact same lineup of a wide receiver 1 and an absolutely nobody. Anybody that could run a 4.740 in Pittsburgh, come get a jersey. because it's rough out here. Obviously, we don't know our running back situation right now. We don't know the wide receiver situation outside of DK. Defenses are going to take advantage of that,
100%.
for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a player that we know at his age and off of last season's track record, not one to extend plays. He's not breaking out of the pocket. So, he's got 6 seconds to make something happen.
Yeah. 100% agree. That's why DK Metcalf's number 1 on my list. All right, back to you.
All right. Go a little further down the board here. I'm going to the 23rd ranked wide receiver in Devontae Smith. Obviously, Super Bowl champions. You're wondering why. Bottom 3rd in pass attempts per game the last couple of seasons. Obviously, their elite defense is huge. They're on the field taking the brunt of thing. They only allowed 14 points per game, I think, last season. Best defense in the league. They're not changing their script. They don't have to pass the ball. They're not in those kind of scenarios.
Right.
You have Saquon Barkley. You have the tush push. If it got banned, this could be a change of conversation.
Right.
These wide receivers could have more value.
Right.
But the tush push is still here. You won the championship with Saquon Barkley. Those touches aren't going anywhere.
Nope.
And I want to mention, Devontae, when he had a healthy team, like with both Dallas Goedert and A.J. Brown last season, he had 5 targets per game, 1 red zone target, 4 catches, 42 receiving yards, 0 touchdowns, and 8.6 fantasy points per game.
Yikes.
So obviously, when the whole unit's there and healthy, he's not a threat. Yeah, I mean, that's when they're throwing the ball.
Right.
They don't have to.
Right. I love that pick. Definitely stay away from Devontae. All right, beautiful. I'm going to slide over to my next guy. This is going to be for one reason. I guess a couple reasons. One reason mainly. My next guy is going to be another decent name, another guy that was on the move this offseason. And I'm going to Davante Adams. I love Davante Adams. I think he's still a fantastic player. He's got a lot left in the tank. You're going over to the Rams, where you're joining a guy who could possibly be the number 1 receiver in fantasy, maybe outside of Jamar Chase, and Puka Nacua. He was a guy when healthy last year was getting 10-plus targets a game, sometimes 6 in the first quarter. He was getting 10-plus receptions a game, almost 100 yards every week, touchdowns. I mean, he is the main guy in LA. They've made that very, very known. We've seen the downfall of Cooper Kupp for that reason. He was a guy that was almost irrelevant at some points in fantasy last year.
Yeah, Triple Crown Cooper Kupp, and they moved on from him.
Yeah.
Because Puka Nacua is that guy.
He's that good. Yeah, 100%. Devontae's going to come over there, once again, help take some heat off Puka. Devontae's going to get some attention, 100%. He may not get all the attention because of Puka. I know that goes both ways, but I think when you're looking to pass the ball, it's going to be Puka Nacua first. Your second option is going to be get the ball to Kyren Williams, and then you're going to go to Davante Adams. I just don't think he has a lot of value being the third option in the Rams offense.
Absolutely.
All right, slide back to you.
All right. Let's see where these last couple players rank on here.
I have one more receiver, so.
Okay, the higher pick right now, Mr. Zay Flowers. The 26th wide receiver off the board, 57 overall. Also a player that has not had a 20-point per game fantasy season. Obviously, Derrick Henry in the mix. Lamar Jackson has some of the most valuable legs at quarterback in the league.
Without a doubt.
In the MVP conversations last season, it was him and Josh Allen. The MVP the season before that. They don't have the script to pass the ball. They don't have to pass the ball. They showed that game plan last season. And I just don't think Zay Flowers is going to suddenly grow into that random target for the Ravens. And they're not going to have that game script to pass the ball 40 times a game. Lamar Jackson's not that quarterback.
Right. 100% agree. Okay, my third, and my final wide receiver. Another decently big name. I'm going to DJ Moore. Just to double check things here real quick. DJ Moore. Am I blind? Hold on. Okay, we'll just skip past that. DJ Moore is being drafted too high, regardless.
20th wide receiver on the draft.
I don't know why I couldn't see his name.
On the board.
he is in a offense now, which is becoming even more and more stacked. Yes, they lost Keenan Allen. I understand that. Obviously, a big target for them last year. Still a free agent currently. But they added a second round, beginning of the round wide receiver, Luther Burden, who is going to be very dangerous for them. He is going to take Romo Dunze's role, as he was last year. And Dunze is going to become the number 2 target on depth chart behind DJ Moore. But you also brought in Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is a very tight end, run heavy type of guy. We've seen that a lot with the Lions last year with their 2 running backs. You still have DeAndre Swift, who's going to get touches with Roshan Johnson, and you drafted a second tight end in Colston Loveland, obviously behind already Cole Kmet. He's obviously planning to run a lot of heavy 2 tight end sets, and he's probably going to get the ball to them a lot. I think
Absolutely.
DJ Moore is just going to lose targets. I don't think he's going to be as aggressive or explosive as he was last year. I think, once again, just another case of too many mouths to feed.
Absolutely. I want to mention, like you said with Ben Johnson, we've seen the 2 tight end system. We've seen the dual running back threat. It comes up here, and it came up with Aaron Glenn mentioning Brees Hall, the Jets. This is someone that both coaches we could see split carries in their backfield and completely change the offense. So we still don't know what to expect from either of these teams.
Right. There's too much risk. There's no reward.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to a play that we kind of talked about earlier today, or made them last night, but kind of someone we haven't necessarily expected to fall off this way, especially now with a move, new scenario, etc. Deebo Samuel. Obviously, I sent you a video, and it was an off-season topic that a lot of people kind of brushed off. It's an athlete. They'll get rid of it. Things will change, etc.
Right.
Deebo Samuel's looking slow out there. Looks like he got bricks attached to his feet. I do want to mention last season, a lot of his points in fantasy came off of 8 rushing touchdowns. That's not going to be there in Washington. That's not going to how they're going to shift their offense and randomly run the jet sweeps with Deebo. He's going to be a second option to McLaurin regardless. 10.2 points per game last season, which obviously could lose you a season.
Without a doubt.
Now, again, a case of mouths to feed, but you're not helping yourself any when you're not making weight and being as athletic as you were.
It looks like he got on that Eddie Lacy off-season program.
Absolutely.
It's kind of wild. So hopefully he can turn it back around at least before the season, but still just a guy to stay very far away from. No reason to put yourself in that situation. Okay, I have one tight end, and then we can close out the avoids. That's my last one. My one and only tight end for avoids, I'm going over to David Njoku, who is currently being ranked. That is the 10th tight end off the board. Still going above a lot of young guys like Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts, Dallas Goedert, Jake Ferguson. I mean, just a lot of guys that have a lot better potential this year than he does. He's a guy that's going into a situation with God only knows who the quarterback's going to be. You have 4 possible starting quarterbacks over in Cleveland, and you drafted a very good young running back that you're going to involve a lot. And I think just with the question marks on quarterback and who's going to get the ball out and how the offense is going to be ran, I think it's just a very weird position for David Njoku to go at 10 above some of these other guys, and I don't think he's a starting caliber tight end for fantasy football.
Absolutely. I think this is a lot of people hanging on memory and of what was David Njoku, how he's been their best performer in Cleveland. But when a team like Cleveland moves on so easily from a Nick Chubb to pick up a young running back, you don't know the quarterback situation. There is nothing leaning in the favor of David Njoku this season.
Right. 100% agree. Even with the explosion of Jerry Jeudy last year, who's probably going to be the number 1 option in the passing game.
Absolutely. When they are passing the ball with whoever is passing the ball.
Right. Okay.
We made it.
Made it through the avoids. Those are our top 16 fantasy football avoids for the season.
Players not to draft. Don't draft them.
100%.
Let's get some players you can find later in the draft and who you should absolutely snag to win your league.
Absolutely. Some sleepers. Okay, so I have 10 of these as well. How many do you have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7.
Okay, so somewhere around the same. We'll get through. Okay, we can start things off with the quarterback position just like we did last time. I have 2 quarterbacks.
I also have 2 quarterbacks.
Okay, cool. So I guess it doesn't really matter who starts. I guess I closed it out so you can start.
All right, I'm going to start with a slightly lower ranked player in Justin Fields. He's the 15th quarterback overall, 15th quarterback, 106 overall, going way late in the draft.
100%.
He has 19.5 average points, even with this is with a bum roster in Chicago, shortened the season in Pittsburgh. Obviously, we mentioned they're going to change the whole offense over there. They got Moran Membu, Aaron Glenn is coming from Detroit, same as Ben Johnson, split backfield. But Justin Fields is going to be used to move his feet. He's the starting quarterback. Dead cut in center. There's no handshake with Russell Wilson to start 6 games into the season, regardless of how well Justin Fields is doing. But you know I'm a huge Justin Fields fan regardless. I think he can make things happen even with his feet. We saw him do it a lot in Pittsburgh. But a player going this late could be a player that wins your league, especially when you could wait till the 5th, 6th round, if not later.
Yeah, without a doubt. Love some Justin Fields. Definitely going to be a huge part of what the Jets try to do this year with new head coach Aaron Glenn. So a lot of opportunity for JF1. Okay, we'll slide over to my first sleeper. And I'm going to go with a guy that a lot of people are 100% sleeping on. And that's Mr. Trevor Lawrence. I've seen a lot of mixed opinions about him. I understand. And he hasn't really lived up to the hype quite yet as he got coming out of college. But I think it's definitely a big shot for him for a big turnaround this year. They obviously added the number 2 pick this year in Travis Hunter to give him more weapons at wide receiver. You still have the breakout of Brian Thomas Jr. You have guys in the backfield like Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne, who are both very good caliber running backs. Evan Ingram, I still do believe at tight end. He has a lot of options and a lot of ways to go in that offense now, and especially with new head coach Liam Cohen, who we saw was a big part of the Bucs offense last year, where Baker had
revival Baker Mayfield.
Right, a fantastic season. I think it's a little bit of the same setup now. You got 2 running backs that can play. You got really good receivers, really good tight end. I think we could see some of the Bucs offense come out in the Jags offense this year. And if that's the case, Trevor Lawrence has a big opportunity for a big bounce back season this year.
Absolutely. I say there's maybe 8 or 9 players that could still be full-time starters below Trevor Lawrence.
I don't know
that's
if
insane.
I mentioned going as the 19th, or did I say the 19th quarterback off the board this year?
I don't think you did. You did mention he was being very much slept on.
Yeah.
19th is insane.
Yeah, the 119th pick is the 19th ranked quarterback off the board.
Yeah,
so.
Adding a dynamic player like Travis Hunter, new offense, and still sticking with Trevor Lawrence, they got to break through.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, back to you, brother.
All right, I'm going with someone that's being taken at quarterback 13, but still after, again, 12 other quarterbacks that, may not be too much better than.
Right.
Brock Purdy. Obviously, you mentioned he got a lot of mouths to feed over there. You could have a healthy Christian McCaffrey take a lot of pressure off you this season. He's got the 3rd easiest quarterback schedule. He had 20 points per game last season, even with a statistical drop, obviously, because a lot of injuries out there, controversy with Debo, etc.
Right.
Everybody's healthy. Everybody's back. CMC looks to take the load off. Brock Purdy's schedule is set there for it. He could have, like I mentioned earlier, he had a better season than Mr. Patrick Mahomes, and that was with a statistical drop, I think, with all these healthy mouths. New set. Obviously, this contract.
I was hoping you mentioned that.
This new contract, he's ready to pop off.
Yeah, coming off that fresh bag that he just got after being one of the lowest played players in all of football as Mr. Irrelevant.
Absolutely.
Definitely some new motivation for him. And with hopefully healthy CMC back behind him. I don't know if I think I zoned out for a second while you're talking. You probably did mention that.
Yes.
But which is obviously going to help a lot.
Yeah, but a bye week not until week 14 as well. So I feel like that's something that you got a lot of weeks to find a backup quarterback, not panic, things to set up for your team. Brock Purdy could be the perfect pick later in the draft.
100% agree. Love that. All right, I have one more quarterback on my sleepers. And I'm going to go, I just talked about Trevor Lawrence at 19. How about we go right below him at 20, and we go to Mr. J.J. McCarthy as my other sleeper. And that's just for a lot of reasons. He is now officially the starting quarterback in Minnesota with Sam Darnold on his way to Seattle. Or in Seattle, I guess I suppose to say. This dude has a big opportunity to do a lot of big things. This offense around him is fantastic. You have playmakers at every single position. You have Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. I mean, you just have top caliber players at every position around him. It's making it so easy for him to come in and just be set up for success. We saw him be somewhat of an offensive leader in Michigan. We obviously haven't seen him play in the big leagues yet, being out his rookie year. But I think it's going to be the same situation with Sam Darnold. Nobody expected Sam Darnold to have the season he did last year, which is a big reason why he got a big contract in Seattle, just because he has playmakers around him that make his job look easy. You throw the ball on 10-yard slant to Jay Jettis, and he can take it 70 yards to the house, and that's quarterback points as well as it is your wide receiver points. So,
absolutely. I mean, J.J. McCarthy looked great in the preseason games. Obviously, we didn't get to see any regular season reps. But this is a player that got even more time to sit back and really take the game in and not have any kind of pressure on him. And we mentioned when Sam Darnold was their quarterback, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is when your offense is built so strong.
100%.
And deep.
100%. Yeah, and being drafted at 20, right below Trevor Lawrence, is just crazy to me. I think there's so much more value, especially in any dynasty leagues. This is a guy you should definitely be targeting.
Absolutely. A lot more value there than there is risk.
Without a doubt. Okay, open us up for running backs. How many of those do you have?
Just 2 running backs.
How many receivers do you have?
3.
Okay, I have 4 running backs and 3 receivers. One of them, I think he was just kind of on there to fill the list. There's not a lot to talk about on that. So, basically, 3. So, you open us up. I just close that.
All right, I'm going Mr. O'Marion Hampton for the Chargers.
Love that.
Obviously, we've seen Jim Harbaugh's run-heavy offense. Now they picked up Najee Harris. But O'Marion Hampton is still the 18th running back off the board.
Wow.
Obviously, a lot of value there. We've seen Jim Harbaugh's offense, how he likes to build things. I feel like, obviously, we've seen in Pittsburgh, even splitting with Jalen Warren. This is a backfield that could split even more towards a player like O'Marion Hampton and have Najee Harris for third down roles.
Right.
So, I think a lot of potential for O'Marion Hampton. That Chargers offense has got even more dynamic receiving as well to take the pressure off. But when you got such a powerful offense and so many mouths out there to take the pressure off, I think that opens up a lot in the backfield.
Right. I 100% agree. Like you said, Harbaugh, very run-heavy offense. He's going to have a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely. You don't spend that value on the 22nd overall pick to not use it.
Oh, 100%. All right. We're going to skip over my first guy. I'm going to mention him, but I'm not going to talk about him a lot. So I basically have 3. First guy I put on the list was Ashton Jitty, but he's going where he should. I think like 5th or 6th running back off the board. He has so much value. I think he's going to be fantastic in Pete Carroll's offense. I think you definitely should target him as one of your starting running backs. He's going to have a great season. So not really a sleeper. He's going where you should, but I just had to make sure I mentioned that. All right, my first official sleeper. I'm keeping things down low and in the rookie category as well. I'm going Mr. TravisJon Henderson, the New England Patriots running back. We mentioned the downfall of Ramondre Stevenson earlier, who is currently the only technical running back competing with him for starting reps. He's being drafted as a 22nd ranked running back off the board, which is wild to me. I think TravisJon Henderson is going to come in and absolutely take over this backfield. They were already looking for a reason to get rid of Andre. I think this is the reason. They drafted the top of the 2nd round for a reason above every other running back outside of Genty and Hampton, who went in the 1st round. He has a big opportunity to take over back there with a good rookie second-year quarterback in Drake May. This offense could have a little bit of life with some fresh legs back there. So definitely draft TravisJon Henderson. He should be the starting back. If not, week 1, at least a few weeks into the season.
Absolutely.
What, TravisJon?
I'm also going to hang out down here at the bottom of ADPs at running back 25. Quinshon Judkins of the Cleveland Browns. I mentioned it earlier, there's a lot of controversy in Cleveland. Who's throwing the ball? A lot of mouths with Jerry Jeudy out wide now if they are throwing the ball. But there's so much controversy who the quarterback's going to be and so many issues around quarterback. I feel like Quinshon Like I said, when you let a player like
Nick
Chubb walk so easily, and you spend that kind of capital on Quinshon Judkins, who was electric at Ohio State, he's going to come in and have 25, 30 carries a game.
TravisJon's running partner, backfield partner.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mr. Spindle himself.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely going to be the lead back over there, probably week 1 for sure. So yeah, definitely draft the 2 Ohio State boys. Big opportunities for both of them. Okay, I think great minds just think alike because the same trend is going to continue here with me and my next pick. I'm going to keep it in the rookie category as well as the bottom 20s of the draft board. And I'm going with another starting running back rookie being taken 27th off the board, and I'm going Caleb Johnson for your own Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, let Najee Harris walk to the Chargers. You still have Jalen Warren, but Caleb Johnson is going to come in and take the Najee Harris role over immediately. He's going to be the main go-to power back. I think he's still going to split carries with Jalen Warren at least to start the season. But I think once Mike Tomlin and this Pittsburgh staff sees what Caleb Johnson can bring to the offense, his carries are just going to get higher and higher. And I think hopefully eventually at some point they'll see Jalen Warren isn't a starting running back in the league and hand the keys to Mr. Caleb Johnson and let him take over.
Absolutely. I've seen Jalen Warren on a lot of avoid lists for that exact reason. Caleb Johnson brings a lot of value and threat to our backfield. I don't feel like Aaron Rodgers has anywhere near a 64% pass rating in Pittsburgh, especially with DK being our only target at the moment outside of Pat in the middle. But I feel like there's a lot of value for Caleb Johnson going 27th at running back, a player probably falling 6th, 7th round.
Yeah, without a doubt. Who has, never mind. I think I already said that. But yeah, 100%. All right. You have another running back?
No.
Okay, I do have one that I want to quick mention. We don't have to talk about it a lot. It was my 4th technical running back. A little bit different than the rookies, but I went James Cook. He's currently being drafted as the 14th ranked running back off the board under guys like Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, and just other guys like, not Kyron Williams, Bucky Irving. I think he's going to be good, but I think James Cook has a lot of value this year. He was head-to-head with Derrick Henry at the top of the list for touchdowns last year, which is obviously huge in fantasy. And he's fighting for a contract. This is a contract year for James Cook. He's going to be the lead back in Buffalo. And somebody's got to help Josh Allen outside of that wide receiver core. And I think James Cook has a tremendous season and could possibly be a top 5 fantasy running back at the end of the year.
Absolutely. A lot of people worrying about the contract situation. This is a player that has said he's going to play.
Yeah.
And when he's on a final year of a rookie deal, they're trying to get paid.
100%. It's already hard enough to get paid as a running back in this league, so you have to show out.
Absolutely.
All right, we can slide things over to the receivers where I have 2 that I'm really hard on.
I have 3 wide receivers as well.
Okay, you can start it off.
This one really hurts. I have a sad crying face emoji right beside it too.
Yeah, I know where
you know where I'm going. George Pickens.
Yeah.
Hurts. But he's going into an offense where, as much as I despise the Cowboys, and any sane football fan should, Dak Prescott has held himself in MVP conversations the last 2-3 seasons. He's been top 5, top 10 statistically, at least the first 15 weeks, regardless of how the season ends. Obviously, last season, not the greatest supporting cast around. But you now have CeeDee Lamb as well to take so much pressure off. And I feel like if you're the defense, obviously you can't pick one or the other, but if you have to side, your top guy is going to CeeDee Lamb. And we've seen what George Pickens could do as the only threat and the only focal point of an offense. You're throwing him probably a better quarterback situation, let's be honest. Bias him, he's trying to tug there a little bit.
Right.
But a lot of pressure is going to be taken off, and I feel like he's going to have so much more space and opportunity in Dallas, which really hurts.
Yeah. No, 100% agree.
But the perfect situation, which is what the Steelers were trying to recreate with the DK and George Pickens scenario, but the Cowboys did it right, which really hurts to say.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely love Pickens.
Yeah, he's he's not going to drop to the 34th wide receiver production. He could have top 15, if not better. But falling to 34 and having someone like CeeDee Lamb to take off all that pressure, you're going to get reps.
100%. All right, I'm going to go with my number one receiver on the board. All the way down at wide receiver 40 is Mr. Khalil Shakir, however you say it. This is bonkers to me. This is absolutely wild. You're playing with the MVP of the league and Josh Allen, who is going to sling the rock. And already with not much to look forward to over in Buffalo, Khalil Shakir is the number one guy. He is the guy that was the number one guy last year. He was Josh Allen's favorite target in almost every situation. He's going to continue to do that. And even if he doesn't put up yards, he's going to get you points in the receptions category. This is a wide receiver being ranked below Deebo Samuel and just right above Cooper Kupp. This range that he's in is absolutely wild to me. I think Khalil Shakir is an absolute must draft, and I think he's going to be very productive for some of these guys in fantasy football. So I love Shakir, and he's way too low to be taken as a 40th receiver.
Absolutely. I'm going to just keep going down the list of steals here and how much later you could snag them to win you yourself a league or some best ball. I'm going to the 48th ranked wide receiver, Josh Downs. We saw his big weeks last season, obviously those big weeks with a struggling quarterback as well. The 6th easiest strength of schedule for a wide receiver.
Shorter.
But again, Josh Downs is going to have his reps. He's a deep ball threat, and it doesn't matter if AR finally gets it down or if it's Daniel Jones. He's able to get that ball to a receiver.
Without a doubt.
My next wide receiver is going to stay in the low range. Currently ranked 31st is crazy to me. You can call me crazy for this. I don't care. I think Travis Hunter is a must draft this year. They already talked about him getting comfortable at wide receiver before he starts taking cornerback reps. I think at least to start the season he's going to be a main wide receiver. And outside of BTJ, he is the go-to guy. We saw him be very productive as the number one guy in college football last year, coming off a Heisman and a Blitnikoff Award as the best receiver in college football. I think this kid's fantastic. He makes plays. He's fast. He's explosive. And if Liam Cohen comes out wanting to sling the rock with Trevor Lawrence, you can't go to BTJ every play. Those guys are going to be an elite duo. I think Travis Hunter is going to be a starter on my team. If I draft him in any of my leagues, he's going to be fantastic. I think he's being very slept on down at 31.
Absolutely. Crazy, though.
Possible rookie of the year.
All right.
I want to mention a huge dynasty pick for my next pick. Again, going even further when it comes to ADP. Love to see it. We're down to the 65th ranked wide receiver in the draft.
Wow.
And a receiver that could very much be the wide receiver one by the end of the season. Kyle Williams out of New England. Okay. Stephon Diggs off a torn ACL on a 1-year prove-it deal. Also in a lot of controversy with that offseason video. We don't know what's going to come from that.
Right.
We don't know how much that'll be looked at. But again, new coach Mike Vrabel, they buffed up that O-line. Drake May looked amazing in year one.
It's his second.
They're just going crazy right now. But we saw that Drake May looked great with no targets. You get this man some targets, and Kyle Williams is one of the most dynamic players in the draft. Obviously, dynasty-wise, huge. Huge option to be the target one, and I just think there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, 100% agree. Obviously, Drake May still looking for his favorite target in the New England Patriots jersey due to a very poor wide receiver core last year, and not many of those guys really staying around to be the guy. So some new faces for Drake. He's going to get the ball around and find somebody that he likes to throw it to.
Absolutely. Kyle Williams had 1,200 plus yards at Washington State, 14 touchdowns, elite yard after the catch skills, first in the wide receiver class, vertical playmaking when he was third in deep ball catches.
Wow.
So a player that could very much be the number one go-to for Drake May.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay.
My next receiver, it's kind of going to be like the Ashton Jitty thing. I don't think he's necessarily a sleeper, but a guy I just wanted to make sure I mentioned. I'm going to go up the board a little bit. He's currently being ranked number 9th in wide receivers, but I'm going Drake London as a must draft.
Absolutely. I was going to mention that too.
Yeah, he's definitely not a sleeper being a top 10 wide receiver off the board, but he's a guy you want on your roster.
He's rising for this exact reason.
Yeah. Michael Penix Jr. is the quarterback this year, and that Falcons offense has a chance to be very, very good. Michael Penix already talked about how good Drake London is and how good he's been in the offseason, and he literally said he was kind of irrelevant last year. They didn't get him the ball as much as they should have, and he said he's going to make sure Drake London gets the ball this year.
I want to mention Atlanta with Michael Penix in his last few weeks. He had the number 1 deep passing attempts. I don't remember the exact stat, but they were number 1 in deep passing.
Yeah.
And when you add Penix and Drake London in that mix, that's a dangerous threat.
Yeah, without a doubt. Penix is a guy that's going to air the ball out. He's a very seasoned quarterback at this point, being 5-6 years in college football. He knows what he's doing. He's ready to get out there and play ball, and I think his favorite target already is Drake London. So definitely a big opportunity for him to be a top 5 wide receiver this year.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all of my receivers. I have 1 tight end.
I don't have anybody else on board.
Okay. This 1 tight end is just to kind of smooth the pain over from some of the avoids. I got to keep it local around here, make sure our local fans are happy. My sleeper tight end this year is going to be Mr. Tyler Warren.
Absolutely.
I talked about struggle at quarterback with Anthony Richardson and some of the quarterbacks there, which obviously doesn't make for a very good outlook on a guy like Tyler Warren, but he has the chance to come in and be one of the number 1 targets in the Indy offense for whatever quarterback is out there. We saw that passing game be very weird last year. Obviously, you mentioned Josh Downs, who's probably going to be number 1 receiver. But outside of that, I think Tyler Warren is going to be a guy they want to get involved. He was obviously huge for Penn State in the pass game last year. A very receiving threat tight end, and I don't think he's necessarily going to have a Brock Bowers type season, but I think he could be the Brock Bowers type of tight end of this draft. I think he has a chance to be very good and very involved and very early.
Matter of fact, I did want to mention a little sleeper. I get this stuff to load. Sleeper quarterback I'm coming across now as the 17th tight end off the board, Pat Freiermuth. Last season having 7 touchdowns, 653 yards. I mean, coming in more of a middle threat now with Aaron Rodgers, more volume than a Russell Wilson throwing it deep.
Right.
But I think he's a very wealthy player that late in the draft.
No, I agree. I think it's also just once again the question marks with the Aaron Rodgers situation and how the passing game is going to be this year, which is why he might have dropped a little bit. But definitely some good late value there. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, our official 2025 fantasy football draft guide for our sleepers and avoids. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Gave you some feedback.
Yeah, a whole lot of value thrown at you, a whole lot of names to steal, a whole lot of names to avoid. Make sure you take this in before your fantasy drafts, before your best ball drafts. A lot of money on the line.
Absolutely.
We're going to get our best ball draft started here soon.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have to do one live next week.
We might just have to.